Hi, my name is Stephen Atkinson, and welcome to Sports Talk. We got a lot of topics to talk about today in the sports world, with the Red Sox and Jonathan Papelbon's comments he made today. We're going to start off with that. Jonathan Papelbon was on a radio station today in Philadelphia, and he was asked to compare the fans in two cities between Boston and Philly. And he says, quote, it's a religion in Boston. It's a way of life. The fans come to the field and they expect certain things out of the players. It's an environment where you put up or shut up. I enjoyed that. That's what got my motor running every day. I've had a guy take off his prosthetic leg, throw it in the bullpen in Boston, and want me to sign it. He continued, quote, the Philly fans tend to know the game a little better being in the National League, you know, the way the game is played. Now, when he says that, how he thinks the Philly fans are better than the Red Sox fans, that's just going to make every single person that's a Red Sox fan angry, in my opinion, and I bet in a lot of people's opinions. After hearing that, after a closer who basically has done so much for this team, this organization, he's won a World Series. He's such a phenomenon in this city, in this great city of Boston. And yet he goes to a CBS radio show and he just says the fans are better in Philly than they are in Boston. He has a right to voice his opinion, but I don't really think he should have said any two fans were better than the other fans. Maybe I think he's putting the collapse of September and how the fans reacted to drinking beer in the clubhouse and fried chicken with the pitchers into perspective. Oh, the fans are terrible because they don't have respect for the game of baseball, probably. I don't understand. And he also says, quote, Papelbon also said he had expected the Red Sox to be more aggressive in pursuing him in the offseason. The Phillies signed him early in free agency, locking up with a 4-year, $50 million deal. I believe that the Red Sox didn't want Jonathan Papelbon back. I think they wanted to move on, and I think they wanted to start a new beginning with with Terry Francona leaving, getting a new general manager, getting a new closer, who Jonathan Papelbon was in that mix of pitchers who were kind of doing that distraction kind of thing, and he kind of knew what was going on. And I think that by him not being surprised that he wasn't aggressive, I think is kind of weird, because I honestly think the Red Sox made the right decision by moving on, and because he's just been a great person, great closer for this organization. And he also says, quote, it was a situation where the Red Sox didn't really come at me the way I was expecting them to come at me in the offseason. And he says, quote, and I told my agent that the first team that shows me interest and shows me loyalty, I'm going to show that right back to them, and that was Philadelphia. So he says that the Phillies showed more momentum, showed more caring, I guess, about him, offered him more money, and so he went to Philly, which I believe was, it was a good decision. They're a great team. and I think the Red Sox will have a better they'll have a better year this year. I think also with Bobby Valentine coming in, he knows the system. He's on top of every single thing, every single player during spring training. You look at how he runs the system at Fort Myers. He had a lot of new strategies he was bringing out. He was more aggressive with players. He was more giving them more opinions. He's set more rules, like there's no beer in the clubhouse, or everyone goes home on the team bus. No one takes their car to a spring training game and then leaves. People think that Valentine is a great manager for the Red Sox, and I personally believe it is, because I think they needed that person to get through to them, because they didn't have discipline last year, and when Francona even said it, he lost some respect with players. He didn't have that respect in the locker room that he had 4 years ago or 10 years ago. He lost that respect, so technically it was time to move on and bring in somebody that was more demanding and more aggressive, and Bobby Valentine was a great fit. So that's why I think Bobby Valentine will put more aggression on these Red Sox players, has more rules in the clubhouse. He's very outspoken in the media. At first I thought he was going to be like a Bill Belichick kind of thing, but he's kind of been talking a lot to the media about what he's said to the players. So he's not really a quiet Bill Belichick. He's more of a loud Bill Belichick by talking about what he's talking about in the locker room. So, but again, I think he's going to work out good with the Red Sox, and they'll probably make the playoffs, because there's 2 teams now that make the wild card. I don't see the Red Sox winning the division at all. I actually see probably the Yankees winning the division, and I say the Red Sox come in second in the American League wild card, and I'm going to say, because the AL West is so stacked right now, they have great players with the Angels. Yu Darvish was a $56 million deal with the Rangers. I mean, so all those things that the AL West has, they just have a great team. They have, great division. So I think that the Rangers will be first. No, I'm sorry. The Angels will be first, and the Red Sox will be second in the wild card. And I believe that the Yankees will probably, maybe they haven't really done anything this offseason. They kind of have the same team as last year. They didn't really make any big moves. I know I just said they might win the division. It might be Tampa. You never know. It's really hard to pick who's going to come out of the AL East this year, because it's really anyone's game. It's kind of a new season for everybody. So we'll see what happens. Next topic we're going to talk about is how Peyton Manning decides to get, how Peyton Manning got released yesterday by the Indianapolis Colts. Peyton Manning was released, and there have been teams that have been interested in him, like the Dolphins, like the Jets, the Redskins. There's like 12 teams that he's looked at, that have contacted him, I should say. And there are like 4 or 5 teams that haven't contacted him. And I'm going to give you actually the teams that haven't, that they're keeping silent, that have contacted him right now. I'm going to say that the teams that they've kept silent, like the 4 or 5 teams. One is the 49ers. They have a great quarterback, Alex Smith, but I think they need a veteran quarterback like Peyton Manning to go in there, maybe teach him, Alex Smith, because he's almost there. You know, he almost made it to the Super Bowl, and I think he needs a little bit more training, and he'll get there. What else? Oh, the other team I think would probably be Seattle, because they need a team. They need a quarterback. And then, like, now I found this today. The Broncos are now interested in Peyton Manning, and it makes perfect sense. This was from Yahoo Sports. Now, I believe that Peyton Manning and Denver, I don't know if it will go over well. I mean, with Tim Tebow being the quarterback right now for the Broncos, Peyton Manning is now maybe come in and take advantage, or no, maybe teach Tebow the ropes of quarterback, maybe a little bit, because Tebow's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. And when people were saying that he was like Tom Brady, comparing him to Tom Brady, and all these things, it's like it's not even close, because Tom Brady shut everybody up that was talking about him, and they killed the Denver Broncos. It was a 46-13 or something. So, I mean, when you compare Tim Tebow to Tom Brady, it doesn't do well, you know. So that's what people get for comparing those two things. And I'm going to read a little bit of what this article says about Manning to the Broncos. It says, imagine for a second that you're John Elway. You're in charge of building the Denver Broncos into a championship contender, and Tim Tebow is currently a quarterback. You like and admire Tebow, but you have doubts about whether or not he'll develop into a legitimate passer, and if he can't, that the Tebow run option offense will work forever. Still in Elway's shoes, imagine what's going to happen if you have Tim Tebow on the bench to start the 2012 season. You'll spend the next 6 months scrapping eggs off every car at the lot at John Elway Chevrolet. And this makes sense, and unless there's some kind of megastar quarterback available, someone who's mentioned in every conversation about the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, someone against whom even the most devout Tebow White couldn't argue. And hey, look at the 3 happens to be such a quarterback available, and that's Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, it would be a good fit. I think it would be a good fit for Manning in Denver. Now, we're going to jump gears to a different division. Now, he's concentrated, and he's looked at either the Dolphins or the Jets. Now, the Dolphins really don't have a quarterback. But what I want to see the Patriots play Peyton Manning twice? And the answer I'm going to give you is yes, because it's more hype if you have a great quarterback like Peyton Manning, you know, when for example, when the Patriots are playing the Colts in the AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowls in 03 and 04, you know, it was very exciting. It was that hype of, oh, wow, you know, Tom Brady's beating Peyton Manning again, and the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. It was more exciting, it was more enjoyable, instead of playing the Joe Flacco's or the Ben Roethlisberger's. I mean, they're great. Well, Ben Roethlisberger's a great quarterback, but Joe Flacco or Tebow. You know, Peyton Manning is kind of Tom Brady's rival since he started. So that's why I think that if Manning goes to the AFC East, I think it's a good idea for the Patriots to play them twice. And I think he'd be a better fit in Miami than New York, because Miami needs more of a quarterback. Mark Sanchez is a good quarterback. He's still not there yet. I would rather have him go to a team that is desperate in need for a quarterback instead of a team that kind of has a quarterback and has to rebuild. So the best bet for him to go to is probably the Dolphins, or maybe even the Ravens. That's going to be interesting too. If they get rid of the Ravens, get rid of Joe Flacco, that could be very interesting just to get Peyton Manning, and that's in the same division. That would be very interesting, because Joe Flacco kind of cost them the AFC Championship last year. Not really, because the receiver missed the ball, but I think that, you know, it's going to be very interesting to see where Peyton Manning goes, you know, and we're probably all going to be very surprised to see him in another uniform, because we've seen him in that Colt blue for 10 years. So, and here's an interesting thing, another thing of Peyton Manning about LaDainian Tomlinson. He says from NFL.com, LT will consider following Peyton Manning to New York. Now, LT was with the Jets. He says on Wednesday, Tomlinson kept the door open for another season with the Jets if Peyton Manning were to become the team's new quarterback. I might be following him, Tomlinson said on Wednesday on NFL Total Access. I know what he's capable of. I'll tell you what, I'll follow him any day. A guest on the Rich Eisen podcast, Tomlinson was asked if he'd say if Manning asked him whether he should sign with the Jets. And he says, quote, "The thing that I would tell him, he can win right away there, obviously," says Tomlinson. They've got a great team to win, great offense, good running game, great offensive line. It's going to be tough as far as with the media, but I think Peyton is able to handle that stuff. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if Peyton Manning goes to the New York Jets, and let's see, the Super Bowl is being played in the Meadowlands in 2014, and if it's the Jets and the Giants in the Super Bowl, that would be very weird if Eli Manning's the quarterback of the Giants and the Jets make it to the Super Bowl and Peyton Manning is their quarterback. That would be, I just thought of that. That would be very interesting if they were both in the Super Bowl in New York. That would be such a media frenzy, and I think that would probably be the most watched Super Bowl ever. That's probably my opinion. It would probably be the most watched. It would be more viewers than last year's Super Bowl with the Giants and Patriots, because it's two brothers going at it. It's in the same city. The Super Bowl. It's going to be nuts. It's going to look like Christmas, and it's going to look like New Year's Eve every single day of Super Bowl week if it's the two brothers in that Super Bowl. So that's going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Celtics, and we're going to touch on hockey a little bit, and we'll jump right back to football. Back to the Sports Talk. I'm your host, Stephen Atkinson. We've touched on the Red Sox. We've touched on Peyton Manning, where he's going to go. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the Celtics. Talk about some basketball and how they've been doing. They have a lot of road games this second half of the year. They're an old team. My opinion on this is it's going to come down to the New York Knicks and Jeremy Lin against the Boston Celtics to fight for the last seed in the NBA playoffs. Or the Celtics play... No, it's going to come down to the last seed because I think they're tied for 7th right now in the conference standings. So it's going to come down to the Knicks and the Celtics.
Keep going. They're not tied for 7. The Celtics have like 4 games on them.
All right. I just got corrected. So the Celtics have 4 games on them. I'm sorry. I meant 7th in the conference standings. That's what I meant when I said 7th place. I thought that's what they meant by 7th place. The team that's scary right now in the East is probably Miami and Chicago too. And the West is probably Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is a great team, and I predict Oklahoma City and Miami in the NBA Finals. And I predict that I think LeBron and Wade and Bosh, all having a year to regroup, will now come back. And I think LeBron James will get his first championship ring, and they will win the NBA Finals. All right, I'm going to switch gears and touch on the Bruins. The Bruins, they're okay. They're doing all right. I see them making the playoffs, maybe do a Stanley Cup run, but I don't know what they're going to do. But I have faith in the Bruins and Celtics that they'll come out and do okay. I'm going to switch to what I kind of my strength is with sports, and I'm going to go back to football. And I'm going to go back to the New England Patriots. And I'm going to go to Tommy Curran of Comcast Sportsnet. Talked to, I think it was Brandon Lloyd, don't quote me. I think it was Brandon Lloyd, and Tommy Curran asked him about coming to the Patriots, and he said he'd love to. He'd love to come to the Patriots. He loves Coach Belichick. He loves the Patriot way. And if you think about it, that's great, but because if you release Branch, if you release Branch and you get Ocho, and then you have Lloyd on the other side, you have 2 deep threats. So I think that's great. This year they didn't really have a deep threat. They had kind of like slot receivers, and they had Ocho Cinco, but he really didn't get to the offense. He didn't really know the offense that well. And it was kind of like Deion Branch was great. But thank you. So I just got a correction. Thank you. Boston is 7 in the Eastern Conference standings. The record 20-18. New York is 18-21. It's 2 games. That's a correction. Thank you. So back to the Patriots. I think they do need another deep threat. And by getting a good receiver, there's so many other receivers out there too. There's Reggie Wayne. There's Randy Moss, who just worked out for the Saints. But I don't think Belichick wants that distraction in this locker room with Ocho Cinco kind of keeping his mouth shut. and not really talking. And you have Randy Moss, who's kind of a distraction all around wherever you go. He can't bet if he doesn't get the ball, he gets upset. So, all right. So we have. All right. This new segment's going to be called the fastest 2 minutes. We're going to touch on every single topic we've talked about in 2 minutes. So I'm going to start off with Jonathan Papelbon. I wish him luck with the Philadelphia Phillies, and if we see them in October, the Red Sox will be ready. Peyton Manning is going to be going, my opinion, to the Miami Dolphins, because they need a quarterback right away. And Damian Tomlinson would consider coming to the Jets if Peyton Manning goes to the Jets. I don't see that happening. LT either will probably go to another team or he'll probably retire. And the Celtics are an old team, but I think they'll put it together and they'll be great. And the Bruins they'll probably pull it together and pull it again late and hopefully make a nice playoff run. So that's for me in sports talk, and I hope to see you next week. Have a good night.